Hello everybody and welcome back to Wappelville. We're going to do another live session here and we're going to keep going with the pirates. And these are some special pirates here because these I actually printed myself. So let's look at a couple here. Actually, I just did, this is Howl right here. I did him just maybe 15 minutes ago. He finished up and we hit him with the 90%, actually 99% alcohol and got him. He's going to have to cure tomorrow during the day, but he's ready to go. And then we also have ourselves, I believe this is, I forget this character's name, but I think this is Anne Bonnie right here that we painted in last night's stream. And we're going to go for some more of this action here. Definitely, we'll see if we have time for the water effects like we did on this one, because that was actually a whole lot of fun. And here's what we're going to be painting tonight. Now, so your miniatures here, she's obviously got a bit of a beverage right here. What we're going to do, we're going to paint some more bottles here. Now these are actually added on. These are from Green Stuff World right here. And as you can see, some nifty shapes. There's actually 4 different shapes in this container. And I'll bring this out a couple of times here as we go along. So I just stuck those here. There's looks like 5 of them, right? We'll see what kind of nifty little transparent effects that we can do on those. As far as primer goes, we kept it basic again because I wanted to show this. This is just your Steino Res right here. Ebony Flesh, that's what it is. I could have used any other color if I wanted to go lighter. I could have used the light flesh. Yeah, that's why I could have used this one. If I was looking for reddish brown, there's 18 of these Steino Res primers here, so there's plenty of colors to choose from. That's the red, brown. Heck, if you really wanted to, you could start with pink like this. And I just brushed it on with the old craft brush, like always, nothing fancy. If you don't have an airbrush, it doesn't mean you can't do your primer with a regular brush. Another benefit to this is you actually get to hit all of those areas. It's sometimes a little bit easier to reach them with a brush. And there's no mess, there's no cleanup. You don't even need electricity necessarily. The other benefit is, well, you can do some pre-shading if you wanted to. So I could have taken some of that light flesh and done almost like a hand-done zenithal. Something like that. This can be done indoors where you don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, it's too humid, it's too cold, it's too hot, it's too windy, it's too this. We abandoned spray cans a long time ago. Not just, there's so many practical reasons, also price. Because one container of this will probably get you about 20, I'm serious, at least 3, literally, legitimately 3 cans of the spray primer right here. Because you're not shooting this in the air. I'm brushing it onto here. I'm not wasting anything. 0 wastage. So we got primer talked about. We're just gonna, we'll hit some of the same pro acryls here. We'll throw out some other stuff. In fact, I am gonna grab a couple of the transparent. So here's a transparent green, transparent red. Where's my transparent? Here we go. So let's play with some of these. Let's play with some of these here. Some of your transparents. We'll throw more in as we go along. I'm just thinking about, you know, what I'm going to do is actually maybe mess around with this primer and show you what I mean about semi-zenithal. Why not do that? Now, I just did actually one of my more recent tutorials for the Patreon page was about a couple of different methods of priming that don't involve an airbrush, that don't involve a spray can, that just involve primer and a brush. Keeping it simple. Because sometimes, well, actually all the time, simple is better. I think you can see where we're going here with our green and our brown. I do have to decide what color am I doing on the dress right here. I might just go with the red. That could be kind of fun. It might also, I'm thinking maybe white trim here. It would be interesting little addition to this. I'm going to try and make all three of these kind of play off of each other. Now this one, I'm definitely going to go with the traditional blue coat here, because you've got the epaulets and everything and sort of that almost admiral's type hat. So we're going to go with something like that. Also going to throw out, now we had this. This was fun and it worked really well also for the base. So all pro acrylic here. We are going to throw out some Reaper paints in a bit. So here's my transparent red. These, as you might imagine, perform kind of the same roles as the Reaper clear and liner paints. Also, sort of like contrast paints. So this is burnt sienna. These over here, so let me get this actually open here. So on this top part of the palette, at least in your view, this is the top. To me, this is the right-hand side of the palette. So that is going to have your transparents over this side. We are going to have some of our opaques. Let's get some of our faded ultramarine out here. Oh, let's chuck a little bit of... And this is regular yellow, not transparent yellow, but regular yellow here. Let's make sure we got this puppy open here. I usually don't show this part of the process, putting the paint out on the palette, but this time I'm going to. So we got ourselves our Stynal Res, light flesh. Going to go over here. Another couple of drops. For the heck of it, I'm also going to throw out this red-brown. I'm going to throw it over here on the palette, like so. A couple of drops. That's all. So again, show you these prints, and I'm looking forward to this guy here. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in his face right there. I think that's going to be very fun. That's one heck of a blunderbuss he's sporting there too. That's going to be interesting. And then this will be, I might try this one tomorrow. It kind of depends on stream schedule things and other stuff. But we'll see what happens with that. I'm going to make sure I've got decent focus on this. It should be. I'm also going to chunk down the brightness a little bit here. Focus should be good. Let's do this thing. And yes, you can mix primer colors together. It's interesting that people just kind of like, you can do that? I said, well, yeah, why not? Then why could you not actually mix primer colors together? Now, is this going to be a very precise... You can see how translucent this is. Well, it's primer. It's not paint, it is primer. But I think you can see what we're after. It's also a little bit watered down because, well, we're using a wet palette. So why would it not be watered down just a touch? I'm thinking that I will use some of the, what is that, the gloss coat, the art coat, right, from GW on these bottles here. Once I got the painting stuff going on, wanted to get some of that liquid in there, sort of give it that impression of liquids, right? Now let's go more with our light flesh. Here we got, oh, GB Biker, how you doing? So it must be 8:34 in the morning there. That's just going to be a guess, because I do believe you are 6 hours ahead of us. I was getting messed up for a while by the daylight savings time, which happened here but hadn't happened there. So I think for a while you guys were actually 7 hours behind us. And by us, I mean those of us in the central time zone. So this is not paint that we're using here. This is just Stynal Res primer, the exact same stuff that you saw as the, well, effectively a base layer. And I even did this in one of my army painting series. Ah, Peachy, yes, 8:30 in the morning. That's good. And we got a Techno Cat in the house. How are you doing? Here, let's look at my Rohan guys because I want to show you these. All of these guys here, this was one of, I think it was Army Painting Series 9. All of those were primed by hand. Exactly what you see me doing here, that's what I did there. I think the first layer actually was the reddish brown, then it was sort of a greenish color, sort of a greenish gray, and then actually this was the light color. So you can see what this, how this looks here compared to what it was a few minutes ago. So we're, to me, this is, oh gosh, Zenithal Plus, because everybody's always talking about Zenithal, Zenithal. Good grief, that's like the color wheel. It's another thing I wish, another term that if I never hear it again, I'll be happy. Because just, I don't know, it's become something that people, remember when airbrushes were first a thing? And first it was magic, then it was cheating, and everybody fought over it. People were sad, people were angry. Oh, we got Mordecai. How are you doing? How are you doing? I think it has been a wee bit of a while. But it is good to see you again. Alright, let us do a little bit more of our pre-shading here. I could take white primer and hit it with this, but to me, this is getting the job done. Now these, and I'll be posting the link a few times here during the course of our mission here this morning. And yes, here it is 2:37 in the morning. Technocat can barely move. The back is killing him. Uh-oh, that is not good news. Well, not good news for you, good news for me, because you are essentially my video prisoner right now. Yeah, it's like I just busted both of your legs, and now you're just sitting there and you have nothing else to do except be in agony waiting for the next round of ibuprofen, probably. So sorry to hear about that. That is not cool. Gee whiz, between you and the Thunderdome, Drew, there's lots of back stuff going on. And actually, didn't Calvadia have something going on with his back? I swear, it's like someone else had the same thing happening. Alright, there we go. This is where we started right here. So there's your ebony. This is where we've gone now. And as I said, if I had my white up here, I could go even lighter than this. See, to me, this is better than the Zenithal, because I'm painting where I would actually paint those lights. Whereas when you do it with an airbrush, where do we got one? Right here. Let's show you this one. So when you do it with an airbrush like this, yeah, you'll get your shading and stuff, but I can guarantee you, right there, that's not where I'd be putting just a big blob of lighter color. So to me, the only reason why I do it is because I'm trying to actually familiarize myself with the stupid figure. Because I get zero chance to actually look at these darn things before it's time to start painting them. It quite literally is prep them, paint them. Somewhere in between, there's this step called basing and priming. I really don't see the figure much while I'm basing it, because all I'm interested in is, does the footprint fit? And does the theme fit? And then all of a sudden there's base, there's the figure, and it's just, oh yeah, guess that needs to get painted now. But this is what I mean, like right here. So, like that thumb, that gets primed. This specific part of her hair gets primed. Look at this. That line right there. You can't, oh, speaking of this, I literally just mentioned you about 2 minutes ago, so you have been officially summoned. Consider that I have just summoned you. Now, actually, I gotta show you this. So this is when I was trying to do yesterday. Remember Howl was not printing? Well, Howl finally printed, and there he is. He's big for a dwarf. Boom, getting shot in the head. So he's gonna be very fun. Look at that face. Look at all that deep texture there. Look at that big schnoz that he's got working on him. Got a big old coat and everything. And look at that big old blunderbuss that he's sporting right there. So that should be fun. If I'm still, depends what the schedule is tomorrow. I might try and do this one tomorrow because she's got the great coat. This would be more like that reference on the right hand side. And of course, this is what we did last night. And Kathy and I have been laughing about this all day long. If I had done this hair just a little bit more pink, that could have been Dices. Just Dices. I kid you not. Now the bottles here, for those that didn't get to see, from Green Stuff World, there's actually 4 different types in this pack. There's a second pack of these that is more like magic potion containers. These are a little bit more like drinky drink containers. At least I think so. Well, I mean, that is it. That is why you were summoned. You were summoned to watch this particular... There's something here that in your destiny must be fulfilled. Speaking of destiny, this is destined to now have some lighter colors going over the top of it. That is why we threw out our transparents this time, because whereas on this one we did that whole sort of old-fashioned shaded base coat, on this one, now that, because the whole figure here was this color of ebony primer. Now let's get to some glazing. Let's do that. We're going to grab ourselves some of our transparent black here, some of our... Is that blue black or gray blue? It is blue black. Let these two mix together, get ourselves a nice little glaze. And time for some rocks. And this is a huge difference. If you watch last night's episode, and that is, well, clearly it's going to be up there for a couple of weeks. It will eventually be turned into a YouTube video, but you can kind of watch it Twitch style right now. When we did that other one, you barely saw the blue-black over the basically ebony brown primer. Here, a little bit different. This is more like the videos that you've seen me do of late. Now remember, we're also going to try and do some of the same water effects here. So that's why I made this base the same. This is, all it is a piece of bulletin board cork. Nothing more. That's all it is. It's very simple. Sometimes simple is better. I wanted to let the bottles do the talking, essentially. That's where my mindset was at. I am just going to hit this real quick here, because at this point I need to have my context. I need to know what... I don't want that brown sitting there. I am going to start thinking about reflecting some of this in these bottles, though. Also gonna hit our little pistoles here. Doing a little bit of glaze on that. We got a second pistole over here. There we are. I also have makeup sponges. Now, okay, you got one like that it got a little bit dirty in the last video that I was doing. Well, if I do something like this, a couple of things happen. First of all, I actually have an easier sponge to use because of the shape. Second of all, I've got all this clean area. And now I can't really profess too much in the way of money savings as we welcome in Gorath Obarski. Basically, we have kind of made the equivalent of a Payne's Gray. I mean, when you think about it, where's my Payne's Gray here? My oil, there we go. It is so close. A little bit of the transparent black and the blue black together gets you right to a Payne's Gray. Now, obviously, today is not oils. I do apologize for that, but I think Saturday is actually going to be oils, because one of the things I was hoping to paint was some creature caster stuff. I I don't know, maybe even a non-creature caster, more creature caster. There's a third creature caster figure. So I do think that Saturday is going to be Oils Day. But sometimes I lie, so don't hold me to that. What are we doing for these boots right here? Now this one's got the light-colored boots. We're probably going to do the dark-colored boots there. You know what? I'm going to take my transparent black here. Do a little bit more with that. Touch of green. Another touch of green. Do we have a beef in the hole in the house? Oh, so you saved your first ever. Oh, Mr. Krabs is in his first dollar. Oh, yeah, Mr. Krabs. Well, oh, God, I think this was the first one that I ever printed. Well, she'll be the last one that I paint, and I'll definitely have to hang on to that. I have pictures of it. I did do some other prints today. Today was the first day where I zeroed out the print plate. I've been trying to not do that for a while. I just didn't want to have to deal with it. I was able to get 5 prints, and then all of a sudden the machine said, nope, you are all done. You are fini. You ain't getting any more out of us. So I said, okay, fine. Took it apart, leveled it out, and then got some really nice prints. There's that transparent green. Frame it, cherish it. Keep it secret, keep it safe. Oh, gee whiz, I almost forgot that's that's just a regular yellow, not transparent yellow there, but we are gonna let those mix together here. What do we want? Let's make that a green bottle too. Probably should be brown, isn't? You know what? No, let's change that. Let's make it brown. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm gonna grab me a little bit of my transparent brown here, and we'll change it because I can do that because I wish to, and because I'm just sort of slapping on colors here. No harm, no foul. This is gonna be brown. This one's gonna be brown, and then I'm thinking the other one's gonna be green. Now these things are, where'd they go? I mean, you could just use them like this if you wanted to. Now, if you're gonna use them like this, I would say actually take something, some kind of a ink or something. Actually, what would really work well, the old Vallejo, well, not old, the Vallejo washes, those you would not believe. I could paint those over plastic aquarium foliage and still get some really neat results. Actually took it a little bit off of the glossiness as well, so that was fun. All right, so there's our bottles there. No, I'm not going to do the green. We're going to let's stick with our red here. We're going to take our transparent brown, touch of that transparent black there. And away we go. So I'm thinking if that is going to be, yeah, I won't, I'm still thinking the frills are going to be white there. I'm going to hit it with the red anyways, because what I like is for there to be a hint of red sort of almost reflected there. So I think this looks a little bit more, like I said, if you go back and watch yesterday's, this is a very different approach from this one. I try to do this to you guys all the time because you've heard me talk. How many times have you heard me talking about somebody that they find something that works for them and then they do that for the rest of their, well, they do it for so long because it works. Miniature painting is not fun anymore. It is boring as all get out, and they want nothing more to do with it because they've been doing the same thing over and over again. It becomes just, well, work. for me, this is my work. It's important for me too, because this is how, well, sometimes I find efficiencies, like, I don't know, the oils, but it's also the way for me, it stays new, because nothing like your work becoming just this dreadful pain that you hate. I mean, that's not good long term. Not a good deal there. So we have a red, I think so. There might be a couple of times where I turn my regular light on, and I'll show you the difference that it makes. Well, for me, this is the amount of light that I'm normally working with. Boom, like that. However, it does tend to cast a crazy little glow for you guys and give you the gray bars of death. So what I'm going to do now is jack up the brightness back to its normal spot here. We'll make sure we're still in our focus. Hair color. Oh, you know what? I'm going to do a... That's going to be red too. So on this one, we did sort of that strawberry blonde here. Oh, let's go dark here with this one. Why not? Let's do it. Essentially, the color of the rocks here. Again, some of that blue, some of that transparent black. All very glazy. Now remember what this started like. The primer color on this was not long ago this color. And that's darker than what you see in the container. Oh, we got a lady bee in the house, as we say, yar. It's paint like a pirate weekend, I suppose. It was not originally intended to be, but because, well, this Kickstarter ends around about 12, 14, about 15 hours from now. Something like, I think it's, well, 6 o'clock my time Friday or something like that is when this ends, and it is now 2:52 a.m. on a Friday. You know what? Oh gosh, yeah, I did an oil painting tutorial where I did actually the shiny black leather. Let's do that. I just get caught in the mindset of, oh, leather, yeah, we'll make it brown-ish, tan, whatever. So there's that coat here. I'm thinking brownish. Don't want to do a blue. However, I want to go with a bit of a warmer. Oh, that's just primer. Okay, let's mix some primer in with that here. Let's see what happens with this for coat color here. And it's going to get some darker shadings after this, but this is where we took, again, the dark ebony primer, started with that, took the lighter primer, and then just did some pre-shading with a brush, not an airbrush. Let's see, Calvaria, that's the whole crazy neck thing going on there. That does not sound like much fun at all. I do hope that gets better as soon as possible. Alright, coat out of the way for now. Gonna get some brownish color here on the pistils. On the stock, so and another pistol stock over here. I knew there was another one somewhere. And just gonna chuck in some dark over here too. You know what? Just for the heck of it, I'm going to maybe make these cuffs a darker color too. At least that's how we're starting out. We did a bunch of changes on this lady over here. The hat color changed, the coat color, the pants color changed, the shoe color, pretty much everything changed on this from the initial coat. So again, we've got For those that haven't had a chance to see it yet, this is the latest print here that I did, gosh, like 5 minutes before I started this. Howl printed. So we'll do him too eventually at a certain point. Yeah, you know, we'll go with the darker trim here. Let's do that. That'll be a nice opposite to what we had with our first one. Now, just going to do a little bit of a skin glaze there. I could use whatever. I'm going to take some of this. Whatever, yeah, a little bit of the burnt sienna here. Heck, I'll even mix a little bit of the primer in it, because I really don't care. I suppose I will throw out some of my, this is pale yellow. I'll get some of the pale green out here too. So that's gonna go over here. Pale yellow. Usual pro acryl again. He's definitely gonna be fun. He's big. I mean, he's beefy. He may not be beef in the hole, but he is beefy. So we got a little burnt sienna going in there, a little bit of our red. More of that sienna. Touch of that transparent brown, and now we've got ourselves a little bit of a skin tone glaze here. And now we've got all the primer. All the primer is now covered, done. That's always our goal, is to kill off that primer as soon as possible. None of this, oh, let's just paint the face and nothing else. Meanwhile, you lose all context of what was supposed to happen with all these other colors because, well, you just painted the face. And then when you go to do the jacket or whatever else around it, things don't look so correct anymore because, well, you had no frame of reference. Alright, so skin tone's got something. Now we'll just wander back down here. Some of these bottles here. Here we go.
Who enters my domain?
So who is this? Berserker Works? Hey, how are you doing? Let's welcome in the Berserker Works family here. I was actually hanging out in that stream earlier when I was exercising and actually getting this base ready to go. So thank you so much for the raid. Yeah, we're continuing. So this was last night's figure, and this was from the Pirates and, I almost said Pirates and Vikings again. The Pirates vs. Cthulhu Kickstarter. I'm hoping to do some water effects on this base too when this is done. Now you can see a couple of other prints here. So this is the guy who was actually printing this while you were doing your stream. The entire time you were streaming, this guy was printing right here. That's Howl. And this is still technically my first ever, well, successful print that wasn't just a test figure. So if I'm going to do a stream tomorrow, I think this is the one I'll try and do. He actually has to cure in some UV light first. But we've got these bottles here. So it's a whole collection of what would we call those, dead soldiers or dead sailors in this case. So some bottles from Green Stuff World. In this case, I'm just painting these. You could, in theory, leave those just as, well, the plastic and do a little bit of glazing over the top of those and see what you get. Now let's get some of the our brown bottles over here. And I'm working with transparent paints from Pro Acryl this time. I'll let that be a little less, just a little less of a reddish color there. Alright, well, maybe have you be brown. So I got 3 browns, 2 greens. It had to be an odd number somewhere. We're just kind of going to go with a sort of a reddish brown coat here. Going to be doing the all out red here on the dress. the base here. Just like we did on this one, we're going to go back into that blue-black, some of the pale green, and bring some of that out. So what do you expect the weekend streaming to be? It sort of depends. Ideally, what I'd like to do tomorrow is actually no, later today. Round about 9 plus 6, so about 15 hours from now, ideally I'd be streaming again. Is that going to happen? Well, we shall see. Because, well, I'm trying to do it just as that Kickstarter comes to an end, to do the last of the pirates that I was going to paint. So there's that blue-black. This is not a transparent. That is just a regular opaque pro acrylic color. Let's get some of these rocks here. And I'm going to get my lights in a little better place for you to see them. This is also going to lighten up too when these colors lighten up, because we did the whole darkening everything, and now we're going to go back in and so lighten some of these things up. I also need to get, there's going to be all this kind of a bluishness down here, mostly because of the water and everything else. It's got to get into the boots, and I'm thinking her hair color will be the same as this. Saturday, I was thinking about ideally streaming some creature caster stuff in oils. So guys like this one over here, got about 3-4 of them, infantry size. We might do some of these in oils just to, oh look at that, more bottles. I just noticed that now. Yeah, those aren't the Green Stuff World bottles though. Let's see, Berserker Works, Oh, we have Steeler Rebel. Let's see, have you started this one from 0? Yeah, this was actually just nothing but primer. 30, well, really more like 32 minutes ago. It was just the ebony flesh right here. Then what we did was and you can still see it sitting over here on the palette. Then we took the light flesh, and then I did sort of a hand-done zenithal, poor man zenithal, so that I could actually go in here and do those darker glazes like you've seen before. Because if you remember this one, it was all just the ebony primer, and when we went back in, we got ourselves another raid. Oh my gosh! I have to say, geez, I thought Drew already ended his stream, but well, now he just did. So we got confirmation. We got a Thunderdome Drew. So folks, if you're not already following Berserker Works and Thunderdome Drew, you need to be doing that. Something tells me basically everybody here is already following those two fine painter folks. Because, well, otherwise you wouldn't be here, dragged in with those raids. But thanks, Thunderdome. Thank you very much, Drew, for the raid. How did your positioning of your lights and darks go on that bust over there? It seemed like you were making some good progress on that, hammering away at that thing. And we got a Snowiak in the house. Look at that. We got a snap. Geez, Kathy and I were we were talking about you earlier this evening. Oh, what the heck? Let's reflect a little bit of that onto that bottle there. Just a reminder. Also going to chuck a few colors onto these things, because I wanted to do some black here on this particular little bit of leather going on. Yeah. Gonna use, I think, the Faded Ultramarine to lighten some stuff here. And then we'll go back over probably another little glaze, maybe of the transparent black mixed with some blue. Let's see. That's still struggling to find the skin tone I want to settle onto, so playing with the light and making the shadows locked in to see what the bus calls to me. Hopefully that all gets, you can just kind of reach that one spot where you want to be with all your colors. This one right here, I well, actually with none of these, I didn't have any really plans for any kind of colors. I just grabbed them, well, printed them, grabbed them, stuck them on a real quick base. This one here, again, just using the Green Stuff World bottles. And you got 5 of them, kind of skewered around here. The miniatures in question, these are from the, and it's ending later today. This is the Pirates vs. Cthulhu Kickstarter. Somewhere I've got the fish dude. I don't know where the heck I put him, but there's the fish guy around here somewhere. He's somewhere, I don't know. But you can see there's got a lot of nice supports on them. And this is the first ever print that I made. So if a guy who's never used one of these before can do these, that means you can too. Let's see. I did see Vince Venturella made me realize skin color needs to be more tones besides pink. Yeah, well, there's greens, there's purples, there's blues, magentas. There's all kinds of fun colors in skin. And that's just like the regular old people skin. Yeah, let's I'm gonna go even a touch lighter here. We're just working with our big old craft brush as usual. This one's a newer one, a little less destroyed, which is always fun. I have one that's not quite demolished. Let's see if we can't. Do we want this to have more of the shiny black hair, maybe? Let's see, if we don't like that, I can always just do a quick old glaze and it's gone. It doesn't matter. Let's see, then I just started to bow and added some reds to my skin too. That complex workup video of his is very good. Oh, the Vince hobby cheating, I think, is what he calls. I don't know, is that what he calls the channel, or is that just kind of what he ends up as the different titles of the videos, like hobby cheating this and hobby cheating that? There we go. Oh, let's make that lighter now too, just to let myself know. Let's get some, speaking of skin tones here, well, let's grab some of that green and start working in some lighter skin tones here. It will be a little bit difficult to see her face because, well, due to the giant bottle of spirits of some kind that's held in front of her face. All right. Those bottles there. I'm gonna take I'm gonna grab a little yellow because I don't want that brown getting too pinkish because, well, then it's just gonna be another version of her skin tone. Heck, that's actually some of my primer sitting right there. What the heck? I'm gonna grab some of that. Now, the interesting thing about your craft brushes here, one thing that can, at least initially, when you're first using these guys, get a little extra hair right there. A little bit of surgery. Good to go. I mean, it's a 24-cent brush max. If something goes horribly wrong, well, I'm still net out 24 cents because, well, I've done more radical surgery to these things. And the latest tutorial video that I just did, yeah, that's a great stippling brush. Let me see. Let's see. Steeler Rebel says, glad to hear you're 3D printing. I've been loving the Artisan Guild. Well, oh man. Now, you thought you were going to see a bunch of Artisan Guild, and you were. I had maybe another, I want to say about 10 or 12 of those. Now, now I want to be able to do army painting series based on those. I mean, let's see. Let's just grab a couple of them right here to be able. And this is the other thing too, is I want to be able to print these pirate ones at a larger scale like this. So basically 72 millimeter scale on these guys. Absolutely loved painting these. This one was in oils. This one in acrylics. And then we'll just go back and grab our contrast paint barbarian lady here. So there's another 72 mil version of the Artisan Guild. That video is up on the YouTube channel now. I think it was just like maybe a week ago or so that went up on the YouTube channel. Let's get some lighter tones in these bottles here. Just because I am still thinking about hitting them with the art coat also. Now that's gonna get too red, so I'm gonna go back here, grab some of that yellow that just keeps it from getting red. And I will eventually be getting into my smaller brushes. That time is certainly not now. We're effectively still doing a shaded base coat as far as I'm concerned. I'm just looking through all the messages. Let's see. We got a Valendar the Red in the house. Yep, it's just James Wappel on YouTube. That is it. So, Valendar, I zeroed out the printer earlier today, and I was able to get a bunch of really good prints. So that was the first time I'd zeroed out the printer since I first got it. So I was able to get maybe 5 prints in before I zeroed it out. I won't be pushing it quite that far again. I'll see if I can squeeze out 3. Oh, the other thing I've found is that you can actually have multiple things to print on the plate at one time. You're not just stuck with, oh, okay, 1 miniature at a time. If you can squeeze 3 of them on there. Let's see. Rumble Haze. Did I miss? Good evening from Australia and welcome to Wappelville. Actually, I'm gonna scroll up here because if someone came in, during the raid maybe. No, I'm Let's see. Oh, the ones you can load that plate. Yeah, that's that'll be the next challenge because I have not. Basically, I sliced something once myself so far. Everything else has been done by somebody else. I'll have to. That's the next thing I've got to do is take multiple files, load those up onto one plate. Because now this I didn't know, and Valendar is going to say, of course I know this. That if you got 3 miniatures on the plate, it's not going to take any longer than if you had 1. It's the height of it. They're all the same height. It'll take the exact same time. Well, relatively the same time. So that's all new information that was learned earlier today. Hey, we got Jackson Joni back again. 3 or 4 is fine. If you load on your plate, you increase the plate. That actually, I did ask that question, and they pretty much said, well, yeah, don't go berserk. Do about 3. I mean, you figure 28 millimeter figs like this. If you're lucky, you'll squeeze 3 on there. And like I say, anything more than that, you're asking for trouble. So there's still so much more I've got to learn about all that. However, I'm just glad that, heck, I didn't even think I was going to have this many prints to paint. Because what was it, Wednesday morning when I got my first successful print? Or was it Wednesday afternoon? Something like that, I don't know. And here it is, basically early Friday morning, and I've gotten, I think, about 8 or 9 successful prints out of it, which is 8 or 9 more than I thought I was going to have at this time. If the bases are separate, I print the bases in one batch and the figures in another. Definitely takes some time to learn, but the rewards are huge. Well, for me, it's potentially monstrous because what I'm hoping to be able to do is essentially have my own class figures. So things like a bust, and it'd be very generic. It would just literally be a female face, maybe a guy's face, and they'd be sort of like a Mr. Potato Head, where quite literally you have a hair, like 3, 4 different hairstyles that you can just kind of pop on there. I'm not kidding. I'm serious. Let's see. Find that printing them standing tilted at 45. Oh yeah, these are all tilted. I mean, as you can see, all of these are tilted. These maybe, some are tilted more than others. I think somewhere anywhere between, say, 35 to 45 degrees, something like that maybe. So I'm glad that I think I went with this lighter coat here, especially to contrast with Anne Bonny. I think this is as Kate Milligrew. I think that's who this is here. And there's your Anne Bonny. I've got pics of her up on the Instagram. You can actually see what she looks like with the supports on the Instagram. Oh, and I've been meaning to do this, so give me 1 second here. I'll get you the link to the Kickstarter if it will let me here. I'm going to throw that in the chat. Looks like it worked. There you go. So there's the link to that Kickstarter. Oh, Chromius, how are you doing? Yeah, the idea is, let's say you want to do a barbarian lady with tattoos or war paint or whatever on her face, with the wild braids and that sort of thing. Then maybe a more modern style haircut, like a kind of the 1920s bob or whatever that you see a lot of times in the spy movies and such. So you'd have something like that. And then maybe one other. Here's something like the typical sort of princess hairdo, or elf, some long flowing hair. Basically, that's what I'm thinking. Because finding 10 of the same miniature is a pain in the keister, to say the least. And that I don't want to go through that again with my Adepticon class. Actually, I thought I was going to be able to have a 3D printer and actually maybe print up my own Adepticon class figs. Well, turned out that wasn't even necessary. But the printer still came, so... And, well, of course, there's a bazillion files now. I mean, just the Artisan Guild alone has a bazillion different types of miniatures. So I'm really looking forward to those. Let me just get this brush a little bit cleaned out here. Let's go into some of that skin tone. We're going to take that's our pale green. I have to throw out some more of that too. Let's get a little bit of yellow into that. And, oh good, you'll be able to see. I don't know how easy it's going to be for you to see the face over that bottle sitting there, but here, I'm going to grab me a little different there we go. Didn't really have a chance to do some deep cleaning on the brushes there after the last one. There really hasn't been a whole lot of sleep for me actually in the last, the last week between streaming and filming too late. Oh, we got Dino Titan Edition is back. Let's see, it's 10 a.m. in Germany, so what is it now in the US? It is 3:19 a.m. because you are 7 hours ahead of us, and oh gosh, is it Germany, Netherlands are 7 hours ahead of us. Not sure if Norway is part of that. But then the UK, France, I believe they are 6 hours ahead of us. Let's get some lighter tones on her face now. Again, this might be on the difficult side for you to see, but fortunately, I'm just doing the one here so I don't have to quite blast through these as fast as I usually do. Just going to get all the way down to where my reflector light's going to be, and then we're going to give her some more of a rosy glow here, like you do. We're going to be going back into all of these areas. Going to go back in here. Let's see if we like the idea of the white or lighter trim on this, or do we need to stick with the darker red? So I'm just going to hit this right here. I think maybe that's going to be another little interesting. We'll start with this and see if we like it. If I don't, I can just get rid of it. But I'm just going to go with lighter frills here for now. I think we need a little bit of brighter emphasis on this. That'll work. We'll just go with that. Take some of this green here. Let's chunk it on these bottles. Let's see if anyone is interested. A couple years ago, I made a painting practice figure, a basic pose with cloth, mail, skin, hair, leather plate, steel, a gem, a flat shield face for freehand practice. It's right now for free. Actually, well, I mean, go ahead and post the link to it here. And actually, if you don't mind sending me a link to that so that I can try and maybe print that. That was the other thing. Actually, well, this is long before there ever was such a thing as 3D sculpting or 3D printing or anything of the sort. I was actually going to cast a series of bas-relief things, like a face, maybe a female face, male face, a shield, a sword, so that people could try different things like the non-metallic metals, just like you're saying there, right? Now, Berserker Work has to head out. You have a good one. Let's see, and Dino Titan Edition says that's a nice figure. Pirates are kind of cool. Anyways, played Freebooter's Fate for a while, which is basically pirate fantasy game. Well, you remember last night where I couldn't freaking remember the name of Werner Klock's miniature line? It was driving me nuts for about an hour and a half. And then I remembered Freebooter. Yes, I actually have some of those. Now, a friend of mine, we were going to use those because his Wild West Exodus Outlaws were actually going to be a female pirate crew that actually went to New Orleans, and their ship kind of got run aground on Lake Pontchartrain or something like that. And they ended up going deeper into the bayou, and they established their own little outlaw camp there in the bayou somewhere. We actually made a terrain board for it. Then, well, Wild West Exodus kind of, for us, went away, and then it became the Pripyat Marshes for our bolt action Operation Barbarossa. So yeah, we had to do a little repurposing of that. Oh, and then we also have used it for the Meuse River in France for a little bit of case yellow. Oh, 7th Sea. Let's see. Well, this is well over a year old. It's very simple, but yeah, just post a link in the chat. And well, I don't know if you can either send me a whisper or something like that. That would work. 7th Sea. Actually, I painted one of those figures. We have some of those. I don't even know where we got. Oh, it might have been like an eBay auction or something. And obviously somebody wasn't interested in those anymore. There's repeats, but I know I've painted at least 2 of those 7th Seas figures. In some ways, these kind of put me in mind of those, because you have more than just pirates there. Let's see. Do you like the styles of the miniatures he makes? I'm talking about the ones he sculpts himself in particular. Actually, I was talking about his faces especially. And that's what got me thinking about it, is this face here is kind of a classic Werner clock themed face, right? A little bit. It's bigger. It's easier to see, easier to get at the eyes and do other things with that. Now, his figures had a tendency to come in 8 million parts instead of like 2 or 3, which probably they could have come in. But aside from that, we always did love his miniatures. It's been a while since I painted one of his. As if, well, if someone would make a 57-hour day, I could actually, well, I might get 2 minutes of sleep every day. That would be nice. But it would also let me paint even more of the miniatures on stream that I like to do. That's now tomorrow. Like I said, I'm thinking that captain or admiral figure or whatever, Commodore. She almost looks more like a. That's it, Commodore. Maybe that's what I'm thinking. Now I am going to somewhere, wherever you went. Right. Let's just throw a little bit of bright ivory out here too. Why not? Go with that. And I'm going to, on the fringe here, I'm going to see how light is light going to be. It's still not actually white. I could still go lighter than that. There's going to be a glaze over it too. Let me see. The Germans were full of plate and great swords. The Italians were Borgias. The Irish were stuck in the 12th century. And the Russians were stuck in the 10th, but they had the shapeshifters. I've seen maybe 5 figures from the 7th seas. I think we have the book. I'm not sure how we have the crazy book, but I think we've got the book. Now there was what's the other one? Black Scorpion. Right? Black Scorpion miniatures. Has anybody ever heard of them? I have a whole bunch of their Wild West figures, but I got a bunch of their female pirates too. And they're still making figures. Yeah, those were kind of fun. They had more to them than just kind of pirate ladies. There was sort of Renaissance era, something like out of the court of Louis the 14th or 16th or whatever. Maybe more like 14th, I guess. Gonna start to find a couple of brighter highlights here on these. We'll just say empty bottles. Now let's do something on the red. We haven't messed with that. We still got our transparent red out here. Yeah, I noticed many painters like the style that he does the faces. They always, seem kind of alien to me. They are definitely, what would you say? They are a unique shape to him. These are the first faces that I've really seen that reminded me of his faces specifically. The nice thing about him was that you could actually do stuff with the eyes. You could, if you wanted to put an expression on that, you could actually do that. If you wanted to give him more of a tattooed look or something like that, because there was just more of the face to paint. Now the other figures that I painted way back in the day, Keltos figures. And I'm wondering if anybody sculpts figures that are sort of like the old Keltos figures, but obviously in STL type or STL format, I guess I'm trying to say. So now all of a sudden this red, it was one of the last things that I was bringing up here. Again, it's a transparent color, so I'm letting some of the stuff that's already there show through. Again, a very different approach from Anne Bonny that we did last night here. Let me see. This one I think isn't sculpted by him. I prefer the one by Chrissa Design Sculpts for now. There was a very cinematic game. Thugs and the like were knocked out on a successful hit. Bosses had as many, and let's see, and they're a bit bigger than the usual stuff, around 30 to 32. Dean paints back in the house. How are you doing, Dean? This is well, you saw the raw version of this, which looked a whole lot like this. I just chucked a couple of these Green Stuff World bottles right here. There's actually 4 different types. So again, Green Stuff World. I'm going to try and do, I think, the same kind of water effects things that we did down here. We'll obviously paint the base the same, but, you know, she's got a little extra refreshment with her this time. Just a wee bit of refreshment, that's all. What's the harm in that? Okay. So now we've got, again, we're just slowly mapping out all of our colors here. All right, let's go. I'll go a little bit further with the red, but I'm going to have some orange in with us here too, or some yellow. That is going to make it a little bit less transparent because it's the Pro Acryl regular stuff. Start to pick up some lighter portions of this. It's like anything else. It starts out with that horribly rough stage. This one was even more rough because actually, Dean, you'll have to go back and check out the beginning of this where it was just a flat brown primer like Anne Bonny here. But what I did was I did sort of a brush on zenithal with some lighter colored primer so that I could do more of a glazy type thing instead of what we did last night with the shaded base coat stuff. Let me see. I'm just going to get caught up on things. Oh, we got Gorath Orbasker. How are you doing? Let's see. This discussion reminds me why I like painting the old Rackham figures. Oh, the old dwarves. Well, yeah. I mean, that's kind of your classic. Midnor dwarves was one of them. That was one of the factions for confrontation. I got to paint one of those. Now, the things that I've painted the most of was certainly the Wolfen. And actually, if you go to the blog, which is it's linked to the Twitch channel here, but go to the blog. It's just wappeliusblogspot.com. Go to the confrontation page. You'll see a whole bunch of stuff. Tons and tons of confrontation figures painted there. Some of them from a while ago. Some of them are more recent, and they're actually done in oils. Is it rum chata? There, let's see. I'm going to say that bottle has the rum chata in it right there. And actually, I did get some of that on my birthday. Well, the day after my birthday. Yeah, it was the day after my birthday. I actually got some rum chata. So that was good. That made me happy. Actually, yeah, there was more than one rum chata. That's for sure. That was extremely tasty. Let's see. Sounds like the old GW dwarves too. Yeah. Well, the actually Black Scorpion. They've got the female pirates. They have elf pirates. They've got undead pirates. They have dwarf pirates. And they have goblin pirates. They actually did. Oh, remember Rackham? They had goblin pirates too. Well, actually, they had a whole bunch of pirates, I think. Or were there? Maybe there weren't as many as I'm thinking. Oh, I have a build plate full of the Dark Dwarfs from the Titan Forge release yesterday. Oh, did I see those? I'm trying to think if I saw those. Oh, what the ritual casting? That's the other. I have to start getting some of those too. I need to get some of the ritual casting. There's also another couple of sculptors, one in Spain and another one in Italy. I'm going to start doing some of theirs. Actually, the one sculptor from Italy, he was literally the person who got me the 3D printer because I was supposed to paint his stuff, but him shipping the files over here was, and this is like late February, early March, we're like, yeah, that's not practical. Now it's essentially impossible. So yeah, that's why that's why the printer was here, was so that I could actually just print them and he wouldn't have to ship them. What's the other thing? The Hexen Hills tiles. So I'm looking forward to printing those. There's a ton of stuff. It's just the door is finally open now. Let's see. Some guys who entered the summer project painted his complete first block of minis in 3 days. A gaggle of rum chata even. We have a Dr. Tentacle in the house. How are you doing? Geez, I think we only met up in 2 streams today instead of the usual 3 or 4 or 5. And we're gonna start to, let's see what we can do on some of these bottles here too, and find some more interesting colors in it besides just browns and greens. Yeah, my primer's still sitting out here. It's a little bit of a reddish tone there. I know you can't necessarily quite see what's happening here. Oh, that's right. I wanted the trim to be on the darker side of here, so let's do that. Kind of forgot about that. Kind of forgot. I also got to get some greens into that. As much as I like my reddish tan, I got to get me some greens in there. All right. What shall we do for a glaze? I'm going to make this glaze a little bit of a cooler color here. I'm just going to, yeah, some faded ultramarine mixed with palette sludge. We already got palette sludge less than an hour in. A little over an hour in. Oh, I know Titan Edition has to go. Well, thanks again for stopping in. It's believe me, it is so much fun to have the company. If I could, I'd just paint on the stream all the time, because making tutorials, it's just me talking to myself essentially. So it's way more fun having folks like you to talk to. So thanks again. Let's see, Jackson, the door is open, more like Pandora's box. With Beef in the Hole is here too. Let's see, I need to borrow my buddy's for Cry Havoc. Yeah, didn't they try to do a Kickstarter? Well, did they cancel that Kickstarter? Or did they finish that one? I don't even remember. I think they went ahead with it. I know that it ran into some issues, just to say the least. That I do know. I don't know much, but I know that. Now I'm going back the other way here with some nice darker greens to find here on my bottle, like you do. Even now, remember I was talking about some greens in places. They go everywhere. That's book 1, chapter 1, verse 1, all number 1 of Book of Wappel. The color goes somewhere. It must go everywhere. So we're chucking this green in all kinds of places over here. We're throwing it on our leather here. Oh, let me see. I only know that Cry Havoc has some awesome articles painting on them. Oh, God Janice, how are you doing? So this is the rare appearance of the Winsor Newton Series 7. The brush that you see the vast majority of the time. This is my craft brush here. And like I said, if you look back at this video from yesterday, the vast majority of the printed miniature was painted with this. And there's a dozen brushes in here, $4.99. The nice thing is that these guys take a real beating. And by beating, I mean they just get, yeah. You can see this one here again. This one has seen some weathering powders in it. And you can see here's one that has seen an awful lot of action. It's now a stippling brush, it's a spatter brush, it's an all kinds of brush. You can do so many things with these brushes. Now when they're more of a new type of brush, you can see you've got a nice little pristine tip there. Let's take that beat up one here. Yeah, let's just this is one that's really been beat up, but look at this. This is very fun. But what do we have here? Look at that. Look at that. It's going to let me do a couple of different types of brush strokes that, well, most brushes don't. Something like that. And that. That is out of a junky, just semi-destroyed 23-cent craft brush. Yet I can still do lines like that or brush strokes like this. Again, a beat-up craft brush. I call it the utility brush. I mean, it literally is like a utility knife of brushes. Oh, let's see. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Thank you, Beef in the Hole. What are we talking about? The one true brush, right? There it is. Worship the one true brush. Hail the one true brush. The sun itself shines for the one true brush. So there it is. Now the one true brush, it may be harder to recognize these days because it comes in the lovely gray handle as opposed to the green handle. Let's see, if you go on Amazon, look up Royal and Lengical Round Teclon. Now these Hobby Lobby, I just get them online. Well, we don't go to any stores these days, but even when we were able to go to stores, I still just got them online from the Hobby Lobby website. If you're in Europe, it doesn't have to be necessarily the Hobby Lobby brand. I mean, there are other craft brushes out there, but just remember, I am the Lord thy craft brush, thou shalt not put sable brushes before me. As long as you don't put the sable brush first, the craft brush will not be offended. Now this is where the transparent green, here, this is where we can start to have some fun with our transparent green. Look at that, nice little, it's basically a dry glaze here at this point. There we go. Changes the color on that bottle just a bit. Instead of a warmer green, it's a cooler green. Speaking of green, what the heck, I'm going to throw some in here too. Because remember, I'm thinking water effects and other such things too. If a color goes somewhere, it must go everywhere. Let's see, you can paint like you don't give a... and then you can replace it with its sister. with its sister. Yes, we are not worthy. Oh, thanks TechnoCat for the link. Gonna give me something to drink here. Sorry about that. Probably gonna also have to grab a cough drop too, because between the constant streams and the videos, my voice can only take so much. And then it just kind of says, nope, you're not doing this anymore. We're taking over. Now, this got to have some reflected light here for sure. It also has to have essentially a little bit of transparency. We got to be able to see through that bottle. Can we do so? We're about to find out, I think. I'm targeting this area back here. I'm essentially doing a little bit of wet into wet there because remember we did that initial layer. Then went back into, I'm going to grab this yellow over here. Maybe not quite that much. That's a little better. The one true brush to rule them all. For Lord of the Rings, and one true ring to rule them all. Yeah, well, definitely. Well, let's see. We have to kind of do a, let's see, into that brush instead of he instilled his malice and his hate. What were some of the other parts of that whole line, that phrase, as we're adding some green now? Again, this is supposed to be kind of a black leather, but we're just chucking some greens on here. Again, color goes somewhere, it must go everywhere. Sounds like you need some rum chata for the. Oh, what's the thing? Oh, geez, Mike Disney that gave it. Jägermeister. That's it. Jägermeister. The Jägermeister worked for about 30 seconds.
So say we all.
Thank you so much, Technicat. Appreciate that. Oh, wait a minute. We got to get out. Speaking of 3D printed, here's Wappel. He's going to grab all of those. And then she says, nope, get away. This is my stream. It's all about me. But thank you very much for the stuff. That is appreciated. Now, what I do try to do for the folks that have done subs, I try to shoot you off an email with one of the Patreon videos. Is a little surprise, especially something that maybe. So see what we just did around the eye there. Get a little bit of shading around that, and we'll do our usual where we kind of go back in with the lighter color and split that. For right now, I'm just trying to make that darker here. But a video that maybe pertains to what I'm either about to do in a live session or maybe a live session that I recently did.
Hello, little hobbit. Spark my ganja.
So who is Gandalf welcoming in? Oh, Gojanus, thank you so much. And if I am mispronouncing the screen name, feel free to say, no, pronounce it this way. That is just fine. Now, with this one, we're just going to assume there's got to be some liquid of some kind in this bottle that she's drinking. So let's start to make this. How much would there be? So that's going to be my. It's weird. It's like an internal horizon line. It's the darndest thing. All right, that we're just getting started on that now. Let's do some more. We'll go back the other side too with some darks, but for now. Oh God! Actually, is Drew still in the house here? No, I think he probably went off to sleep by now. But I know he was on the Robin Williams genie bust. He was wanting to do. He had a jar of something, probably like some kind of a magic potion sort of a thing. And, oh man. Oh well, maybe I should have started this part sooner, then he could have seen it. Let's see. Alcoholic dairy-based drinks are yucky. Spiced rum with cinnamon vanilla. Actually, yes. Well, horchata has been a favorite of mine, like, forever. If I could just, like, intravenously have horchata, I certainly would. And then you combine some rum with it, and it's that much better. Let me see. Oh, thanks, Kajanus. Let's see. Found you out in the recommended channels. Oh, that's. Well, geez. I'm getting recommended. That's nice. That is nice. I don't know. Well, none of us have been able to figure out these algorithms, but I wonder what it is. I'm going to throw some of that transparent black out here again. I wonder what it is in their thing that makes it a recommended thing. Is it the subject matter strictly? Is it more stuff going on in the chat? I'm just curious, because having lived in the YouTube wilderness for 7 years, this is well, it's a bazillion times more fun. No doubt about that. Now we're getting the dark side of our horizon line here. And it is effectively a horizon line. It's broken up though because, well, we need to have some highlights over the top of it. So that's basically, this is the extent of how much she's got left there to drink. Oh, not really keen on creamy alcoholic cocktails. Let's see, rum and horchata and cinnamon. Oh, we're just oh yeah, discussion on the horchata again. It's been a favorite of mine for quite a while. You also have to understand that, well, here in Chicago you have giant populations of, well, Polish, so you're going to have lots of Polish sausage, vodka, kolachkis, that sort of stuff. But you also have a very large Hispanic population. So, I mean, we have within 60 yards of this house 3 taquerias, and all of them have horchata on tap. Your breakfast sausage is chorizo. Hey, Drew is still here. I know they pretend there is and recommend a category purely on chance and whim. So, Drew, I'm trying to actually do a little bit of because I don't know if you finished off Robin there, and I know there was that one stupid jar of whatever that was being kind of a pain. Oh, you know what? I think she's kind of wearing gloves here, but I'm just going to go with skin tone. No, I'm going to go with gloves. Let's make a change. Let's show that we can make a change. And I think it would be neat if her gloves were black. Or at least dark. Okay, there's our change. Yeah, we were going with skin tone. Now we're not. Now we're going with something else. Let me see. It's people who follow people you follow. Well, there's that. There's definitely that. And then just again throwing in a little bit of a darker glaze here. Oh, let's get some of the blue-black in here as well. What the heck? Changing that from skin tone to a black glove because I just looked at the texture of that and went, I'm thinking that's not skin tone. It was this one right here. I was seeing some folds here, and I just thought it was like a weird sculpting thing, but it wasn't. Oh, I'm just trying to get. There is no algorithm. I'm trying to get caught up here. There has to be an algorithm. It's about Twitch is notorious for having the worst discoverability. That's why I was sticking. Well, there was many reasons why I have to stay with YouTube, because that's where all the Patreon videos are. They're all unlisted there. But it's that I thought Twitch had no discoverability at all, and then I realized what sort of does. It comes in a different way than YouTube. There's also way more of a community here. Oh, catch you later, Snowiak. Oh, yeah, Kathy's always envious of your walks in nature. She's very envious of those. Now I'm going to go a little bit lighter. This is that internal horizon line that I'm trying to suss out right here on this bottle. Like you do. Then we also have to have, well, the usual sort of glass highlights, right? Let's do this over here now. Can't just trying to figure out, okay, there's a little highlight there. This is effectively kind of a horizon line right here. That needs to be lighter somehow. That's getting to be a little bit too pinky right there. Let's see. We are definitely. Oh, Ors Groomy, how are you doing? Speaking of communities there. The problem is there that you want watchers to find interesting people so they come back and watch others and more. YouTube, for sure. Oh gosh, what's the best way to describe it? It's more of it's a turf war. I'm just telling you right now on YouTube, you would not be having raids. You would, for the most part, you would never see somebody voluntarily pass their viewers on to somebody else. There may be a few people on YouTube that would do it, but it's not like Twitch where that's the norm. On YouTube, that would be a rare, rare exception. Oh, Valandar the Red has to check out. It's 4 a.m. I need to get something done around noon. I will see you, well, later today. Dr. Paints is, or Dean Paints is new to Twitch, but I found the community amazing. You are at the same place that I am here because, again, my wife Kathy, she'd stream for years, but I always meant to. I actually did have a Twitch channel set up for a long time. There were other reasons why I wasn't able to do it, but I was focused on YouTube, doing the YouTube live. So there we go. See, we got some brighter things going on now. The end of that bottle there. Now let's get some bluish black on this glove here because that's going to get us color separation from the bottle, not necessarily value separation. I don't need value separation all the time. When I do the black and white thing on this, then you'll see. You'll see what I mean. Let me see. YouTube is a dumpster fire. Well, it can't die completely because then my Patreon page will be toast because all of my tutorial videos they're all enlisted on YouTube. So I need it to survive. But thank goodness there's this. Because I tried to do stuff like this on YouTube and I would be lucky if there was 20 people at the high point of the YouTube video, and that's on the discoverable platform. I really like that there's no palette sitting here. It's sitting over here on my right. I can actually do things like air quotes and not knock over my palette and stuff. All right, let's get some of this blue down here. I'm gonna get a little touch of my green in there. But there we go. We're changing this around a little bit. Look at that. See how it gets a little bit more translucent looking. Now, how do these start? Started out like this. I just primed over them. There's 4 different size jars in here. But Drew has to go chill out. I hope that your back was doing okay tonight. It seems like it must have been at least doing better than it had been last week. Last week didn't sound like a good back week. At least didn't sound that way. But thanks again for the raid. Thanks again for hanging out. And of course, if you're not already following Drew, you should go do that. But
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
welcome in, Mort. Gandalf also welcomes you too. I'm just enjoying the first 3D prints that I've ever made on my own. So this is from the Pirates versus Cthulhu Kickstarter. This is the very first resin print I ever did of my own. I do believe that this was the second one, and now I'm painting the third one right here, having some fun. I'm going to try and do some water effects on this. We're also going to paint this base more like hers, but I'm just trying to get at these jars here for right now. Yeah, I'll show you the stuff that I used for the water effect. It's actually not a water effect material, believe it or not. It's just Liquitex Heavy Gloss Gel. I use it for sculpting fire, sculpting hair. I mean, you name it. I can sculpt all kinds of fun things literally out of Liquitex Heavy Gel. But it also works for water. I've used it for fountains, for waterfalls. Ooh, that's right. I'll grab the waterfall thing in just a second here. I'm going to hit this with a little glaze, reflect some of it there. This is my faded ultramarine blue. Pop a couple of lighter areas there on her fingers. Same here. And this is what betrayed the fact that it actually should probably be a glove. There was those folds over there, and even this actually does have a little bit of a fold, so I just didn't see that right away. So we'll set you there. Here we go. So the flexibility, it's amazing what this can do. So I'm just going to move you guys out of the way. This was another one of my Kickstarter videos, right? Not Kickstarter, my Patreon page videos. Yeah, it was a multi-part basing thing about, it ultimately led to this. So super heavy gloss gel, yeah. Waterfalls. That water looks really deep there. It's not. It's barely thicker than these waterfalls are. And the waterfall's running down. Let's see. Dr. Taylor, did you do the supports yourself? They come with supports. They basically make it as easy. Now, again, this is the first print I ever did in my life. And I was able to get it come out like this the very first time, having pretty much no clue how to operate a 3D printer. So it's definitely supposed to be as easy as possible. Oh, yeah, TechnoCat says pre-supported. Definitely is. Let's see, I was amazed by that yesterday, so I went and bought some. Hey, Crocodile, how are you doing? Another person you need to give a follow to Crocodile. I'm just having some fun. These are those 3D printed miniatures. Actually, this, an hour and a half ago, this one finished. I still have to stick him in the sun tomorrow, well, later today, to cure him. Eventually, I will get, an official sort of thing for curing stuff. For now, I got to use the sun at this point. Now I'm going to chuck in some more. This is that faded ultramarine blue here. Just get a couple of more lights on the fingers. Let's do it on this side now too. This is the other thing I was talking about with the so many advantages to the 3D printing. Normally there's a mold line running through there. There'd be a mold line running through her face, through the hair. All the places where you normally get mold lines, well, they don't exist on 3D printed miniatures. And I know that the actual resin cat, those have more detail, so to speak, whatever. But how much detail do you lose when you have to gap fill, when you have to file mold lines that run right down the middle of their freaking face? You're kind of losing, you're shedding some detail there. It's like what you gain in one, you're kind of losing in the other. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Dr. Tentacle. Now, it all depends what it is that you're looking for. I always recommend the Army Painter because that's going to get you, well, like 500 hours of videos. There's also the Dark Sword Pledge level. That's the 10. And these are all previous Dark Sword miniatures. And you can see each one of these takes on a different technique. Oils, true metallic metals, painting white, using the turbo dork on that one angel in the back with the sparkly wings. You got the different kitsune with transparent clothes, dragons, all that kind of stuff. And actually army painting like this, Necrons, terrain tutorials. And let me see. Oh, we've got our, let me get down to my Lord of the Rings stuff, of course. Oh, my Cypher Lords, my Harad, my Dol Amroth. And I just started my sister series. There's another one of this series right there on the halberds. And, oh, I want to show you this. So, these guys. So the flames there that you see on the ground, that was the same Liquitex heavy gloss gel used to sculpt flames. So just so many things you can do with it. Supports are the biggest turnoff for me when it comes to 3D printing. Now the latest suggestions I've gotten from multiple people is you hit this with warm water and these things just sort of break off. Now, this actually came with the printer right here. And it's really just to, you give it a couple of clips here, like so. A clip there, and it goes away. The nice thing is that there's no mold lines there. Yes, there'll be a couple of dots where the supports go, but you can see that it's easy to chip that away. It doesn't break. Surprised the heck out of me. I was convinced I was going to break it. And I've done a bunch of these now and haven't broken any of them yet. Maybe emphasis on yet, but I haven't done it yet. Let's see. More, yeah, almost, it's kind of the industry standard, wouldn't you say, TechnoCat? That if it ain't pre-supported, nobody's going to get it. Let's see. Oh, thanks, Mort. I appreciate it. Oh, hey, George is back in the house. It looks to me that the folds in her shirt cuff or her shirt cuff rolled up. It's actually gloves because when I looked at it, there's folds in the. Well, imagine my hand having vertical, like folds like that against the grain of the skin. So it's definitely she's wearing gloves. I don't look at the miniatures in advance very closely when I go to paint these. There's kind of a specific purpose for that. I'm basically trying to avoid the whole, oh look, I've done this a million times before. It always works every single time exactly the way I want it to. I'm trying to dive into what other people's worlds are like. Let me see. Oh, Goroth Arbuski says you can cure them in a toaster oven. It's neat. You need UV light, not heat. And I know toaster ovens have kind of more like an infrared type of a thing going on, I believe. Basically, something more along the lines of a nail polish curing thing. It's closer to that. Let's see. It looks like gloves to me. It looks like those old timey gloves. Now, I actually haven't had any of the Artisan Guild prints to do yet. They've been sent to me already cleaned. Now, I would imagine that doesn't surprise me about Artisan Guild because, oh my gosh, Andrea must have at least about a year and a half head start when it comes to doing the miniatures. Take a look at the terrain that's in this Kickstarter. That's actually, I didn't even realize there was miniatures, to be honest. What I saw was the terrain. There's 28 millimeter ships that come with this Kickstarter. Let's see, I was tempted when I heard he was doing pre-supports. 3D Printing Pro is doing those. Well, I think, I don't know if, oh gosh, Ritual Casting, I'm sure he must have pre-supported stuff. That one Italian sculptor that I mentioned, he has pre-supported. That is definitely, well, I think now it's become easier for the guys doing the sculpting to do it, or maybe they kind of hire another person and say, here, just put supports on all these. You go do that. I'm gonna grab this off-white over here and put some more light into this. Ritual Casting pre-supports, and I was, oh, that's, yeah, because I was just looking at Ritual Casting, so I've definitely got to try and get some of those, and by some I mean a lot, because I don't know, the few things that I was able to see on the Instagram page from Ritual Casting was looking mighty sweet, so I will have to do that. I have to send out the word that I've got to paint some of those on the stream here. Because actually what I'm also looking for is large scale stuff. That's why Artisan Guild, they did me a favor and they upsized their stuff. I have a 28 millimeter version of this, but I was also desperately hoping for 72 mil. Let's put that back over there, just get out of harm's way. Let's see, good luck with Facebook ever letting go of Instagram. Okay, yeah, that's yeah, there was a bunch of figures, and it seems like there was one where, yeah, there was like a bust version of it. Then there was like the character was kneeling. It was kind of an Oriental theme. And I'm gonna get some lighter. There's a couple of highlights here and there. Okay, I'm just gonna give these some more in the way of highlights. Let's start to hit some of our bottles over here too. Give them some more sparklies here. And remember the chain of highlights that we're always trying to bring in. Let's do that right in here. And you notice it's sort of broken up right there. Let's see if we can't do that on some of these other bottles as well. We have not put much in the way of super light colors on these bottles. And I'm trying to keep that on just one. But basically this is where maybe the sun is hitting it or something like that. Let's get this bottle right here. Again, a broken line that goes to here. Connect dots. Same thing on this. This one a little bit different since it is not round, but essentially flat. Couple of lights on the boots there. Ooh, what do we want to do with this? Just a touch of a highlight there. Let's I'm going to see if I can do the eyes where you can also see them. That bottle is casting a shadow on her eyes, so that's going to be very tough for you to see. Again, the Werner clock style faces really appreciating larger eyes like that I can just do more stuff with. I'm going to take that faded ultramarine, mix it in with the... So this is where we're those different flesh tones, right? This is kind of a more of a grayish flesh tone. And I'm looking to split this up right here. There. A little bit of darker shading on that cheekbone there. Let's see. Let's see. They also have an issue with women's, but bum. Yeah, that was the other thing about. Well, here I didn't realize because being new here, and I knew as far as like, okay, the person, like the streamer can't, like you can't have certain things for people to see, but there's certain miniatures that I'm just not going to try and paint on here anymore that I was going to, but I'm just going to have to, those will just have to be Patreon tutorial videos of the variety that just never go public. So that's the other reason too. If you do something like the Army Painter pledge level, those episodes never go public. So there's what 20? I'm almost on series 20 now. They're 5 episodes apiece, so that's practically 100 episodes that will never ever go public. And well, there's always new ones being added. So there's 40K stuff. There's Warcry. I've done 2 Warcry series now. Lord of the Rings. AOS. I've got Ossiarchs on the way. I've got some nice Zinchi Rubik Marines that are going to be coming along. Sisters of Battle. Actually, that's the series that I'm working on right now. Here is the color test figure for the Sisters of Battle. So we did the basing episode, and the next one is going to be a color test figure like that. And actually, I did this in a little stream here, but we were adapting this old base that I did a while back, and we painted this, so we did a basically a little smaller version of that. Yeah, there's miniatures that I would show you, but I can't because I still want to be able to do this stuff for you. I don't want to have to make an exit from Twitch forcibly. Let's see. Yeah, I don't understand, and it's a person that probably was never going to actually watch something like that type of a stream anyways, and they just felt like, I don't know. I don't understand any of these things. If there's something I'm not super thrilled with, I just kind of exit stage left and leave it be and just call it good enough. Throw a little bit of blue liner out here. I'll catch you later, George. Thanks again for joining us here. Have a good one. I want to do maybe some bluish green eyes. Let's see if we can do that here. So that's the blue liner mixed with the, I almost said green liner, but the transparent green. Now which way? I guess I'll have her looking this way towards the bottle. Give her a little bit of an upper lid there, so I think you can see that. I'm going to do that on this side. This one's a little more challenging because again, there's an object in the way. Okay, the eye is in place. And now I'm going to get some of the same dark green into the bottle here. Again, thinking about that horizon line effect. Let's do this over here now. I'm going to go back into some of these lighter parts of the container like so. Playing with some of the yellow here. Because that just was a weird sort of a line there. I need more of a solid kind of a shape to this. Get some of the burnt sienna in there so that it makes it a bit more. Or that's it. I need a more intense color there. I had kind of some not terribly bright color. Oh, this also, gee whiz. This has to be later here for sure. That's got to be way more transparent. That makes an immediate difference there. Yeah. So it's more than just lighter, it's also more saturated. A little more there. What's going to happen with this jar? That top part of this bottle needs some more lights. We just kind of had nothing but the lighting on the side of it. That's better. This is going to need some. Let's see. Do I go with grab some of this here, and remember I want to have some waves rolling on this, so we're going to see if we can't give that touch of reflected light there. Now let's hit the base here real quick. So you can see we've got the pale green and a lot of the dark blue that was mixed there. I'm going to grab me something to drink real quick. So sorry about that. Is there a genuine vision in the house? Hey, how you doing, Jan? So these are some of the very first 3D printed miniatures. This was actually technically the first successful print that I got, followed by Ann Bonnie here, and now we've got our drinking pirate crew. Let's see. Crocodile, I wouldn't test the waters too much. Yeah, it's there was so it's just gonna be the old Demonettes of Slaanesh, the classic GW Demonette. That's gonna be one of my army painting series where I can do that and have it be unlisted and not have to worry about it. I'm gonna go a little bit darker on her headband there. It's some of the blue liner mixed with some of the actually transparent red. Yeah, it was too close to the dress color, so I'm just gonna make that darker. And actually, I sort of like that. That's gonna go into the bottle as well. And I can still do, I almost called it Valhalla Blizzard. I can still take the hard coat if I wanted to and go over the top of those bottles, give them a little bit more of a shine and sparkle. What happens when you do that is the lights in the room will actually kind of, now the highlights will track those lights. So that's kind of handy sometimes. I'm going to use the blue liner now for reinforcing some more darks, like on the gloves here and such. Let me see here. I'm glad that everything is going okay there, Januin. Or Jan, sorry. It's been a very long, it's been a long week. Good grief. And last week was very long too. Gonna get the end of her pistol here, and I'm also going to take some of this blue liner here. Again, it's touch of the transparent green. I could just use green liner too, but I want to still be able to mess around with the, there, we had to do a top on that bottle, an opening on all of these. They're kind of missing that, and these are just from Green Stuff World here. They come with these semi-trans, kind of like the old Necron plastic things. I wonder if the new Necrons have that kind of stuff. I'm assuming not. Yeah, it's, well, you've been pretty exhausted too with everything you've had to do over there. I know that. And just trying to get this whole 3D printer thing figured out. It's pretty much every couple of hours, it's, oh, you didn't know about that. Oh, okay. Well, now you know. Oh, you didn't know about that. Well, now you know. It's been a lot of that. Pretty much since Tuesday. Now, it's not like I hadn't been trying to work with it before and I've been watching lots of videos on it and stuff, but that was the first time that I actually had prints besides just the printer itself to work with. Yeah, I'm gonna go a little bit lighter here, maybe. Yeah, I keep thinking, on this one I had lots of gold on this one, and the orange. So, in my mind, I was still up painting this one. I'm like, no, I don't have very much gold or yellow or whatever on this. So I can boost some of these, and then we'll backtrack, and we'll backtrack a little bit there too. Now here we need more, either more transparency or reflected light, or both. It's got to be one or the other. I'm going to give it a hint of this green here, but it's got to be lighter. And I'm looking at this area right here. Just like how we made that lighter under there, we've got to get this a little lighter. Now I'm going to take some of the, that's the faded ultramarine. No, it's got to be, to have a little bit of yellow to it. And now we're getting somewhere. This was just, it was too much dark there, all in one place. I mean, if anything, the glass had to be reflected. Oh, well, like the water down here. This is, you see how these lines kind of transverse the line where the liquid is? That's important. And you can see it's kind of a translucent thing. Why is it translucent? Because part of it is transparent green. There we go. We needed just some more of those lines to cross over where our liquid is in there. That's starting to make a little more sense. I'd like another one there. That's the, see, that starts to internalize the liquid doing that. Question is, do I have enough of that on this side? I don't think so. Now I think there is. I'm going to take some of this grayish brown here, and we've got a seam that we can mess with. We'll darken this down. So I don't know how it's going to work out. The goal is, anyways, holy smokes, in about 12, 14 hours from now, I would be doing another stream. That would be a little bit more North America friendly. So for folks here that are in North America and it's insane freaking early in the morning, my goal is to somehow be able to do another stream, like I said, somewhere around 6-ish, 6:30 in the evening on Friday. That it depends on some factors. The other thing I'd like to do is a very long stream on Saturday, kind of like the old Saturday marathons that I used to be able to do that life has somewhat prevented lately. There's a little bit of that pale green. Let's get some of that back out here. It's just one of the pro acryls. Boom. There you go. So if you guys want to catch that one too, I will most likely be painting this one right here. It's going to be in your kind of classical, the blue coat, right? You got the epaulets there. What I'm liking here is this is the first face that's got nothing in front of it. Obviously this one somewhat blocked by the pistole there. And this one quite blocked by a container of refreshment. So a little bit of the pale gray mixed with our rock color, and away we go. Again, I got my number 8 round craft brush of goodness. Not a dry brush here. Not actually a dry brush. I'm not going to do the water effects yet. Maybe in a half hour-ish I'll try and do some of the water effects. But that once I started doing those, because I kept sticking my hand in those water effects. Even earlier this morning when I was finishing off that Anne Bonny figure there, I kept sticking my hands into the freaking water effects. So lesson learned. Now here is why I need reflected light, because look at this. It can't be darker than the rocks. It's a glass bottle. It would have to reflect these colors here. Just like here, I gotta do the same thing. Over here, gotta do the same thing. I don't want to go too crazy making these rocks lighter, and all of this is bulletin board cork. I'll show you real quick here. I think I can grab a piece. There we go. So that is what you're looking at right here. Look at this wonderful rock texture. Look at that. All I did was break off a piece. There was no sculpting or anything like that there. I just literally broke off a piece of this. And it's nice because, okay, you break this off. Look at that. Nice little rock that feeds it. Look at the texture of this. You can't sculpt something that looks more like rock than that. Look at that. That's fantastic. Nope, Calvaria has to go off to bed. Well, good luck with the neck and everything. Thanks again for stopping by, and hopefully I'll be able to catch you later today, because that's the goal, is to do another stream later today. But thank you very much. I need to get my lights over on this side too, and if I'm going to do this, as I already have a decent little light in place here on that bottle, so that's not so much of an issue. Now this is the neat thing. Look how I just spread out that brush. I still got that sharp point there, but then that sort of filbert type shape. Let's get a little lighter here with that's that pale green. Letting the texture of the cork show through as much as I can. Let's just work our way around here. And I think at this point now I've got enough shading and such going on in here, and colors. We're doing the old black and white trick. Should be very interesting. And it's just that same kind of thing. I always recommend you do it with your phone. You take a picture of your miniature, you turn it black and white, because every phone comes with some kind of photo editing app. And making it black and white is like one of the easiest of effects to do on your phone app. And you'll see in just a second here, as I do that with this figure, and I'll do it with the Anne Bonny figure too, because it shows you yes, it'll show you value contrast, but it's also going to show you color contrast, and that's the type of contrast that people are missing the most. If you're looking for the one, they all understand. Well, most understand. Well, yeah, it's got to be lighter or darker. But the subtle types of contrast is saturation. Like some of these colors are very saturated, and others of them are very muted. That is a whole type of contrast all by itself. All by itself. So I'll just clean out this brush here real quick. Go to my camera controls. Color is gone, but you can see the bottles. There's no difference between the green ones and the brown ones, right? But there's shape there. Even the bottle that she's drinking out of, you can still see the horizon line there. Is it green and brown? No, it is not. It is when you bring back the color. There you go. So that's what I mean about the color contrast. What do we got going here? Look, I actually have some green right here, right next to red. That's color contrast, right? I mean, you got red and green next to each other. That's like Merry Christmas all over again. What I'm also going to do here is that bandana. So instead of it being the orangey red, I'm going to actually make it more of a pinkish color here. Why not? Again, there's going to be a value contrast here, but this is going to be a little bit different than the red that's in her dress. A little bit of a cooler color. I'll go one step lighter. One step lighter. This also then gives me a little more reason to get some pink in the face. We've got plenty of warm colors in there. We even got a little bit of greenish in there, but I want to get me some purple in there too. Oh, thanks. The emote. Oh my gosh, emote sketches. That is the big. Well, we all have that bone to pick with Twitch about there's emotes that I've waited now practically over a month, and some of them in the same batch were approved like within a week. It's just bizarre. Don't get it there. Let's see. Hope we can get. Yeah, I definitely. I'm hoping to. Something tells me that that's not going to happen until the latter part of July. There's just too many things that I have to take on. There's a lot of creature caster stuff that I've got to do, amongst a million other things. So hopefully by the second half of July, things have calmed down somewhat. Now it's not all horrible either. Getting that 3D printer to work, that's a plus. It's made things insanely busy and kind of sleepless, but it's also a game-changing thing. Because this really does, it changes everything, because there's terrain pieces for Lord of the Rings, for my bolt action stuff, just like parts of buildings that for me to sculpt those myself, like just the crenellations on some buildings, would have been really a pain in the you know what. But to be able to 3D print those, like light poles, way cheaper than trying to buy a bunch of 1/48 scale light poles. So you see what I'm doing there? I'm actually putting some lights in, well, the shadow areas there. I'm going to do that over here too. It just makes it a little bit more interesting, and potentially even that fabric maybe is a little bit on the transparent side. Oh, gee whiz. This hasn't gotten much of anything over here. Wow. Okay. I was looking at this pistol over here thinking that's got to get some stuff going on, and then I saw that this belt over here, which I just want to look and see if there's any. I was supposed to reflect any red on that. I don't really see any. There might be some brown that needs to be reflected on there. Okay, that now starts to reflect a little bit more of the sky. If it's supposed to be a sort of a semi-shiny black leather, it's got to reflect some of that sky somehow. Her skin needs some lighter stuff going on too. Let's see if we can do that. It's gonna be a tough way to see it. It's quite literally in a shadow that is being cast by the bottle of refreshment there. That was essentially a light glaze. People always think of glazing, well, you're going to make it darker. You can actually glaze things lighter. I'll never forget when we first discovered that, because that was very powerful. It meant midtones and other things like that. All of a sudden, it was way easier to mess around with those. Look at that little reflected light there. We'll do the same over here on this side now. As you do. Now I don't want to do too much more on the bottles because, well, I've got to see what's going to happen with our wave action, because that all gets covered up anyway. That would not be a good use of the time. That's why with the object source lighting, right, we always dive into that as soon as possible, instead of waiting and waiting and waiting only to find out, oh yeah, didn't really need to paint that part because now it's covered with the object source lighting. Okay, I think we have the lips are relatively readable there. I'm also going to go in here again and right under the eye here, make the cheek a little bit lighter. Then this is another one of those things that kind of happens typically off camera because I need my lights to be on to be able to see that. If I turn my lights on, you won't be able to see it. Here's a little bit of that green again. That's going to go poof right there. It is just not noticeable. It doesn't, again, doesn't translate or read as green. Hopefully those fingers read as being a little bit darker. Okay, that let's get some darks in the hair. Even on the glove there, maybe make that a little bit darker. Oh, thank you, Lady B. I appreciate that. Hey, let's see what we've got now. That's yeah. There we go. And I don't think, yeah, I'm not going to put any more lights on the base. I'm going to let the water do the rest of the talk in there. Oh, I need something going on here. I need something more there. That's another one of those lighter glazes that I was telling you, kind of a mid-tone glaze, basically. And I'm going to hit a little bit on that boot over there. Even a touch right there. See that bottle? It's got a little bit of a greenish tone on it. Essentially just trying to reflect some of the rock onto that. Going to get some greens going here. Yes, this is a tan, sort of a, I don't know, more of a ox hide or whatever type frock coat that she's got. But I'm also going to have a little touch of green here in the shadow areas. Yeah. When people look at that, they won't notice it per se. They will notice that they like the shading that's there. There's something for them to look at. This now needs to be significantly lighter here. If there's going to be a pistol sticking through that, that's going to be that black leather type stuff going on. Yeah. That needed to be done. Pardon me while I get here. That's better. I've got my off-white over here, which is going to go a few places on this bottle now for sure. Perhaps here. Like that. On this side too. I'm going to just connect those two. That's, yeah. Being separate like that wasn't really helping very much. Okay, that's the opening of the bottle there. Got to raise that cheekbone up a little bit. Got my blue liner here. It's kind of a bluish gray for the hair. Then I'm going to actually take some of that, again, that's the blue liner, see if we can make some darks here. And there's a lot of folds here. There is a ton of folds. Gonna make those darker. Just try to define the sole in that boot a little bit more. And now let's see if we can't play maybe with some of our water effects like we did on the Anne Bonny. We'll get you out of the way. And so again, earlier today, maybe 6 hours ago, she just looked like this. I snipped off the supports. I did the base here, put the bottles on there. And you can see what we've been able to do in not a whole lot of time. What we're going to do now is take some of our Liquitex Cervi Gloss Gel, and we're going to try and do some of this stuff. Now, before I forget about it, where's that Valhalla Blizzard? So this actually I was mixing in there to do some of the foam. Do we have Oliver Ghost in the house? Hey, how are you doing? Oh, thanks, Oliver. I appreciate that. So yeah, these are from Green Stuff World here, and there's actually 4 different bottle types in there. There's a really small one, kind of a big one. There's the one green one actually has, you can see it's got the, it's ironic, it was a green bottle and then I ended up painting it more of a brown. But what we're going to do is we're going to take some of our, now I got to make sure it's a clean craft brush, because if it's dirty, paint will get in there. Now I've got, this is from last night here. So you can see there's some of that gloss gel. You can see how translucent that is when it's cured. I'm going to throw a little bit out here. And again, what are we trying to... This is the same material here. Look what you can do with it. Waterfalls. A little bit of a stream here. So you can see now it starts out like this. But as I take it out of this container, look at how much body there is in that. That is the big difference between this stuff. The pourable, look at that. That's why I can sculpt fire with this. Oh, what the heck. I'm going to throw some more out here. There. Okay. Just going to wipe off the excess now. And start to fill this in. Like so. Fill that in. Now maybe this one doesn't have quite as much in the way of splashing waves. Maybe just a little less than the other one. So this is a bit of an anchor right here. And I'm just going to work all the way around the bottom edge of the base. So here. Yeah, I'm thinking a little less with the splashy on this one than on the other one. And remember, all that is going to dry nice and clear. I'm going to fill this in too. So I didn't put any sand in there because, again, all going to be filled in. Now, if I could take some of the transparent colors and mix it with this, and it would actually have some color to it, you can do that. Look at this. So that's a water drop, but guess what? There is another purpose for this. Now let me see if I can, here we go. So you see the icicles there? That is another purpose for this. You can have water, but it can also be icicles. Grab some more of this. All right, now we can decide how do we want these waves to go. Look what's happening here. And throw a little more. So we're trying to make ourselves a nice little wave here. Maybe a bit more. Now, normally I'd be doing a bunch of these, so I'd be able to get more layers. This I have to kind of do it more all at once. But look what's happening here. See how that? Look at how we're extending that out. That's how you sculpt. Same way you sculpt the fire. That is how we're sculpting a wave that starts crashing here and then pouring out this way. So see that? Look at the, there you go. You can see the dimension on that. That's the heavy gloss gel like we used in the last the episode last night. There you go. It's the same stuff we used on Galadriel. All of this stuff is all of the heavy gloss gel. Now here I can do a bit of a splash out this way. Maybe have a little bit of that water go up into here. And again, it's
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
that Peasaw. Thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it, and so does Gandalf. Okay, let's get maybe even more of a. Let's continue this wave effect here. Now look at, you can see how much that's extended out over the base. And this stuff is very rugged. It's not going to break. This is not brittle. It maintains its flexibility. So see, we're just can extend that. It starts to harden. You'd be surprised at how soon it actually starts to harden. Now, I'm going to get some more water in here. This is what we used last night. A little bit more there. But again, you can see right here in this tray, the clear stuff, that's how it's going to dry. It's not going to stay white. That is why, you look over here, that's the Valhalla Blizzard stuff over there. Alright. Keep going with this here. And the Liquitex heavy gloss gel, you can get that at art stores. Typical US craft store, whatever, is Michael's. I just get them on Amazon. I don't even bother doing, well, especially nowadays when we don't have access to stores anymore. So I'm going to continue this wave over here too. Why not? So you can see I push down on it and then I pull out, and look at that. You can see it's a, if I wanted to do icicles, I would just do like the little hanging thing there. Now let's mix this with a little bit of water. I'm going to use actually a smaller brush. That's the thing here. We'll use a smaller brush for this. So yeah, now did you see the jar? Because I just put the jar up there again on the screen. I'll do it again in a second. I just have to see, this is already starting to cure a little bit, which means that I was able to, look at that. So kind of creating some water dripping off of there. And like I said, it's going to be nice and transparent too. Okay. I could, in theory, if I make this thin enough, instead of using the art coat stuff, you know, I could just sort of paint this over the bottles here. And then it's just going to dry clear. And now the bottles are going to have some shiny to them. So this is another thing. It can basically be, instead of using a gloss, whatever, like the art coat, now you don't have to buy art coat. You just use this stuff. And again, it's going to be a little bit on the milky side when it starts out, but it will dry. When it dries, it's going to be clear. So the other thing I could have done, like here, is I could have mixed a little bit of transparent brown in with this heavy gloss gel, and what that would have done is given me another actual little layer of basically a kind of a tinted glass in some ways. So there we see the bottles have a little even more of a sparkle to them now because we've got a different texture on there. This is the other fun thing that you can do. So see how we've got all these little sharp points on the end of the waves there? Yeah, there's definitely other brands. I stick with the Liquitex Heavy Gloss Gel because I've tried other ones and they haven't quite worked out the same. There's other Liquitex things that, oh gosh, I'm trying to think of what the heck it was called. It was like a gloss string gel or something like that, and it was no good. It was very, very disappointing. It was like it was the worst of all worlds. This stuff holds its shape. That stuff didn't hold its shape at all. Again, disappointing in the extreme. So you can see what I'm doing here. Look at the difference between this.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Cruelty of Orchids, thank you so much for the follow. That is appreciated. What we're doing here is on the end of our water effects, we're starting to basically make these a little less pointy. Is there a Bale Forge in the house? Hey, how are you doing? See how that looks a little more? Look at, there's a sharp point here. All of a sudden, a little less of a sharp point there. And again, this is the Liquitex Heavy Gloss Gel. And I've used it. Let's go to my terrain stuff here. Now, this terrain board, if you go to my YouTube channel and watch the Bolt Action Battle Reports or go to my blog, you will see that on this same terrain board, there's a big old river, and all of the waves and water action were all done with this stuff because it wasn't a pourable resin. You can see, look at how much action I can get on that. There's no dams built here. There's no containing stuff.
Hobbits. Spark my ganja.
Bad Boy Rune, thank you so much for the follow. That is appreciated. Oh, look at that big old glob of that there. You know what? Maybe it's going to go here with the idea that the wave is kind of crashing up against this right here. Like it's going in this little crevice of the rock. So we're quite literally sculpting now. We're kind of sculpting with a brush. So here, look at this. Just the way we pulled out that wave over there, we're going to pull out this wave. I can sculpt. Where's my bigger brush here? And see that all the frizzy, nasty stuff on the end of that brush? That's actually helpful here. It's almost like a spatula. Look at how much that comes out here. Now, if I throw some water on it, it's almost like working with green stuff where you put water on the tool so it doesn't stick to the tool as much. Well, that's what I'm doing here. I'm putting a little water on there. I don't want it to stick quite so much. And then what I'll do, if I can just give that 5 minutes to cure over there, I can start to build off of that a little bit there. Oh, let's see. Winsor & Newton Heavy Structure Gel seems to work well. So is that the translucent variety, or is that kind of the gesso that you'd use for oil painting, like on a piece of masonite or something like that to create some texture? Because I'll give that a try. I'll see if I can find that on Amazon or on Dick Blick or something like that, and see how well that works. See, look at this. I can start to build off of these because they've already started to cure a little bit. Look at how this is starting to, see how it's starting to crawl back over? Look at that. It's like a surfing wave. Oh, it's acrylic and it's transparent. So I'll give that a try. I'll see if I can find it on Dick Blick or on Amazon or something like that. Because yeah, another material is always good. So see how that takes away some of those sharp points now, and it turns it into a drop of water. Here's the comparison. See all those sharp, spiky points there? If I let those sit there just long enough, then they'll be cured enough to where I can go into here and actually make these look more like water here. Seems to work exactly the same. Haven't used it in anger yet. Well, let me know what you come up with, and like I said, eventually I will try and snag some of that too. So you can see we got the two different types. We got the stuff that's thin with water over here, and that's your heavy stuff right out of the container. So I can't get too greedy with this here. I'm gonna have to let that sit there. In the meantime, I'm going to play back here, I think. Like so. Now I don't want it to be waves like water shooting out there. I just want it to be more of a ripple action there or something. But you can see this is almost starting to turn translucent right here. That's pretty cool. So Oliver looked up the Liquitex Super Heavy Gloss Gel and found only the 1 gallon version. It shouldn't be that hard to find that container on Amazon. What I can do is, tomorrow or something like that, I can hunt it down for you, and if I can find it, then I'll just shoot you the link in a whisper or something like that. I am going to get some of this up here, though. It's very thin. It's really more about making that wet looking than actually any sort of wave texture. That's why it's so thin down. It's just going to fill that in. The idea is that it's sort of like water. Here, look at this. Let's have a little bit of that underneath that bottle. There we go. Okay, got our bottle there. Let's hit this one here. Now, again, this is... I can do the... What is that stuff called again? I almost called it oxide paste. The... Not lamy. Oh, it's the Ard Coat. Yes. It's only kept that name since the dawn of forever. But yes, I'm forgetting it. Build out this wave a touch more here, I think. So look what I'm doing. I'm just taking it, I'm pulling this out, and I go under here. That's what's giving it that curve shape, that out and under shape there. Will it flatten a little bit? It can. It depends on how much stability you give it. If it's thinner, it's going to want to flatten out and kind of sink and sag. But yeah, you can see, look at that. We got a nice curved shape going on there. Oh, let's see. There's also the heavy non-super version. Yeah, actually, the heavy gloss gel will work fine too. I didn't even notice it's super heavy. I don't think the last one I got actually said super heavy. So maybe that's the difference there. Sometimes I also end up getting things that I didn't necessarily want, like when I asked for oxide paste and I got earth paste instead. That was not fortunate. Let's see. Can you add color to that, as GB Biker? Oh yeah, I could definitely take some of that transparent green there, some transparent blue. You'd want it to be something like oh, I've done this too. So see something like that. A tiny bit though, little bit goes a really long way. So just a dot of that. See, Jackson sells them and ships worldwide for super cheap. Dumb. Alright, let's go back here, and I have to leave that. I just have to leave that there. I can work over here because this says solidified. And look what I'm able to do. See, I've got like a water drop on the end of that now. You just have to be patient with this. I gotta keep building more and more there. It starts to look more like water and less like, oh my gosh, I don't know, fingers. Well, actually, the sharper it is, the more it looks like fire, basically. I don't want it to look like fire. I'm going to get a little bit more structure. See up in here. Now this, I don't really know how much of that Valhalla Blizzard I really want to put there. I don't know if I necessarily need it. I could maybe fill in a little bit of water. There's sort of like those cracks in the between the big old rocks there, and the water's sort of filtering in. Okay. Again, a little bit of our, that's a little thin sort of application of it to give it a little bit of a semi-gloss there. I think I can build off of this now. I think that is dried enough. Yep. Because when I put that little drop right there, see it doesn't really move very much. If it moves a lot, then you know it's like, I better just not mess with that. Better give it some time. So you can see it from the top there. We got a nice splash effect going on here. Would it be easy to remove the gel? Oh yeah, I mean basically what's on here now is not much more firm than that. You can see I just wiped it right off the palette there. Well, that blister pack, I suppose I should say. So it's definitely easy to remove. Once it's settled on there, you could pull it off of there, but then you'd be kind of risking damaging the base and all that sort of stuff. Now, the other thing too, this is not like a resin pour where you risk getting air bubbles or it sticks to something, because there's no dams here or anything like that. Now, I wish I had it here, but it's now, my fountain is now downstairs. You can make a, well, what would you say? You can make an armature, basically. You could take a blister pack like this, maybe cut it up and then melt it down. So Amazon in Germany didn't have it. Get me a little bit of, like I said, I could do some art code on that as well. I don't want that to have too much of a brush-like texture, so I'll just stop there. I'll hit this with a bit of my water effects too. Again, the water's splashing around there. How is it miraculously not hitting some of those other surfaces? So yeah, you can see, look at that. That little one right there is starting to dry clear. Doesn't take that long necessarily. The thicker it is, the longer it's going to take, though. I will say that. You know, this part that's thick here, that could take hours. You know, just like here, no matter how thick it was, it all turned clear. A touch more of that here. Again, this is so thin right here. I'll set this down. I'm going to grab me my Galadriel. Now this right here, this is where I added that was mixed with the Valhalla Blizzard and the heavy gloss gel. Look at how thick that is. See, that's actually thicker than the width of this brush. That was a few layers added there. You can see there's leaves underneath there. You can see there's leaves underneath that. That's what makes this look deeper than it actually is. Look at, there's more leaves covered up there. So those are the kind of ways you can cheat on your water effects and not have to have those be a half an inch deep. and thus take a week and a half to dry, praying all the time that it doesn't turn weird on you. And the nice thing is when you're, see, I'm starting to work with smaller and smaller water drops here. That means they cure a little bit faster. I can add some more sooner. Now you saw that kind of pushed down a little bit. That's, I have to always be aware of that. Now here I'm just going to go back over this, push this up a little bit. Just as I'm working with this now, again, I'm going to put it in the water over here. The idea is now it shouldn't stick so much to this. Yeah, it's not sticking, but I have to go back. It's almost like oils where I have to clean off the brush. Oh, there we go. That is nice and smooth. So basically what was happening, and it's not catching quite so much. So again, look at that. It's almost like there's a, you've dropped something in the one, it's splashing out this way. I've done this on figures too that are like lizard man figures that are running through a swamp or whatever, and that's been neat. So this also is going to give me a different look than what's here. A little different, that 'cause that was kind of splashing up over this. Here it's kind of coming back out again. I just wanted to make sure you could still see all the bottles and everything else. We didn't want to lose touch of those. Let's see, Jackson sells the gel too. Search Liquitex gloss on their page and it will come up. That is good. Thanks again, TechnoCat. Appreciate it. You know, I will get a little bit of that water effects up there. Why not? Yeah, it's just going to make it look like it's wet. Just a little bit. Again, having this over here, mixing it with our water. And I can continue to see that one's not really moving there. That tells you that it's curing nicely. Oh, and I really wouldn't suggest hitting it with a hair dryer. I would just let it cure naturally, because what could happen is you could trap the lower layers, but you basically like cook the outer, like a microwave. You'd cook the outer layers or something like that, and then the inside would be raw. So think about that. Yeah, see, this is already, while it's not clear, this is already kind of hard. Look at that. I can't, it's harder for me to manipulate that right there. It's still soft on the inside, but it's not anywhere near like this, where I can really manipulate this a lot over here. Oh, still, what elements of a miniature do you find the most difficult to paint? I mean, it's big, smooth surfaces. For me, it's just dealing with weird, smushy details that aren't really details. That is the hardest thing, and some sculptors just deal with that better than others. That's usually the hardest thing, where it's like, okay, what is this thing? What is it that I'm actually supposed to be painting here? Is it a pouch? Is it a face? What the heck am I dealing with? Is it a fold? For me, the faces are kind of my favorite part, because as you'll see, I'm just going to go to the old 2D art that I used to do back in the day. Here, 1 second. Where are we at? There we go. So as you can see, faces, eyes, that's a watercolor that I did years ago. These are something, actually Chikara and Londo, I want to sculpt these, actually an epoxy sculpt. So again, portraits, that's a thing. So my favorite part of the miniature is the face. And hands are the least favorite part. And that's why even on here, the hands are just kind of a suggestion of hands. That the face was really more what I was interested in. It also shows you that that difference. Okay, it's yellow, yes, but there's greens in there, orange, gray. Oh, here's some of the other artisan guilds. So there's me. That's Wappelius Spellbrush. Yeah, those are, I really loved those. Those were so much fun. And of course, this one, you can still watch this on Twitch. I think it's on my YouTube channel now, too. That was done in oils. Love me my oils. Alright, let's go back in here and I'm going to see if I can add to this now. Has this cured enough on this side? Yes, it has. So it wasn't moving quite as much as it was before. Oh, thanks, Steel. I appreciate that. If you go to the blog, there are dozens more 2D paintings there. There's actually 8 drawings that I've since, good grief, about 2002, which never got painted, which I might try and paint on stream at some point. And actually, it's still viewable right now. I did actually do my second half of my birthday stream a couple of weeks ago was actually me painting a 2D painting of a ship. So you can still check that out. Yeah, look at how much further some of these drops are starting at, because I'm just adding a little bit at a time. Letting what's there serve as basically a platform. And it ends up being rounded on the end instead of sharp. So that looks more like a water drop. Whereas over here, remember when we started with this and we had all those really sharp, that looks more like fire then. Oh, thanks, Oliver. That's I did a whole bunch of B5 art. Actually, I've got a bunch of paintings signed by the actors. So I've got a Peter Jurasik signed portrait of Londo. I've got a Mira Furlan signed portrait of Delin. I have some Star Trek ones too. I think I've got a Terry Farrell painting that's actually, she's got her signature on there too. Autograph, whatever you want to call it. I guess autograph would be a more correct term. And it was always interesting when you would ask them to actually sign it like that, because they knew it was a painting, and they'd say, well, are you sure you want my name on there? Because it's your painting. That was pretty wild. But yeah, check out the old 2D art. Like I said, it's not going to be anytime soon, but I am hoping to do more 2D art stuff here, if possible. In the short term, it's going to take the form of murals on bases or on walls of a diorama or a vignette or something like that. But I'd love to kind of do the old Bob Ross landscape kind of thing. That would be hilarious. Okay, a little bit. Yeah, and again, I'm looking to get water here instead of just waves. This is just thick enough that it's going to give it a little bit of texture. And enough gloss there. So again, I'm just looking to make these rocks wet like they've been sprayed by it. Heck, I could even take my one brush and flick some water on here if I wanted to, I guess. Okay. Just making that a little bit weather. Yes, not weather. Boy, I wish I had the big old gigantic freaking bus in here. Well, I guess I can show that to you tomorrow. It was my latest. I'm going to start uploading it to the Patreon page or to YouTube for the Patreon page as soon as we're done here, because it's going to take hours. But it was a massive weathering video. Basically taking weathering powders, mixing them with pigment fixer, and turning it into a liquid, and then literally painting with it, almost kind of like an oil wash in a way. Let's see, newfound, a noun found per phase. Oh, let's see. Watched your Wappelia's channel here on Twitch. Better time. Yeah, it's Pirate Weekend as a okay. That let's see. I'm gonna try and fill this in here. See, when I push on that, it's soft enough that it still moves. Fill that in just a touch. Now that one turns more and more clear. So again, you're getting a chance to see. That's why I wanted to start this as early as I could. All right. So let's say that's good enough on that sort of stuff. I'm gonna see what I can do now here with a couple more detail. I'm gonna get some darks. Gonna take that blue liner here, refine some things while I'm thinking about it. Let me see. That's a yep. That's what I thought. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, why has it got my title in it? Well, remember last night where, for whatever reason, Streamlabs was not letting me put in a new title, which was irritating as heck. It's been gee whiz. I think the last time I had a spam thing during the stream was like back in April or something. Anyways, get me a little bit of what does green and purple do? It makes a gray, and that's what we're looking for here. Bit of a gray. Gonna hit some of just the ends of her gloves here. Ends of the fingers. I don't necessarily think they're supposed to be shiny, but I also have to stay away from all this. Mr. Thumb's got to stay away from that.